Glad to see you all. Welcome to panel discussion, new genres and subgenres of hypercasual games. My name is Anastasiia Yamkova, game release lead at Innovecs, and today I will moderate our panel discussion. So I would like to introduce our speakers. Welcome Alon, game designer at Moonee.
Hey guys.
Jean-Baptiste Henry, publishing manager at TapNation.
Nice to meet you all.
Welcome. And Chris Williams, game designer at Kwalee, LTD.
Hey, nice to meet you
all. We will have an introduction part, then we will discuss different topics, and after all insights, we could answer a question from the audience, if we will have it. So, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. I have more than 7 years of experience in game release and project management and owning all stages of project lifecycle in gaming. And a little bit more about my company. Innovecs is a global digital transformation tech company with offices in the United States, United Kingdom, Israel, and Ukraine. And please, guys, share in a few words what you are doing in your company, a little bit more about your experience and project. Who would like to be first?
I can start.
Okay.
So, hello guys, my name is Eden. I'm a game designer at Moonee. I'm usually there with the studios from start to finish. I oversight the games and I give my feedback. At the meantime, I'm consulting over 100 studios around the world. And me, myself, I came from a developing background, so I'm very familiar with the Unity engine and the exciting yet very difficult process of creating games.
Okay, thank you. Who will be the next?
I can go.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. My name's Chris. I'm a game designer at Kwalee. I've been here for a couple of years. I started in QA, and now I'm working in the design team. I'm not really involved in the publishing side of things. I'm part of the internal development team, so working on prototypes and soft launches and stuff made in-house at Kwalee. Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's great, isn't it? So excited to be here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So I guess I'm next. So I'm Jean-Baptiste. JB might be easier. I'm a publishing manager at TapNation. I actually come from a digital marketing background in business school and user acquisition in marketing, in the marketing kind of way. And I'm actually a huge hyper-casual gamer myself. I've been a casual mobile gamer for a couple of years. It's been a part of a lot of wasted time. And now actually I've cross-referenced both of these likes and expertise, and so I manage daily like 19 studio closely from ideation to production and iteration, and so we work on a lot of different games with a lot of different studios from a lot of different cultures, and it's been amazing for now, and I guess it's gonna keep being amazing.
Okay, thank you, guys. I guess we could start our discussion of topics. So first question will be simple. What is hyper-casual game now for you?
Can I start again?
Yes,
Yeah,
sure.
I think hyper-casual games right now, at its core, haven't really changed. We still see the portrait, the portrait, one mechanic, one finger mechanic we're used to. Game sessions should still be short and very fluid and clear. Shouldn't be, it should be instantly playable, lightweight, easy to pick up, rarely difficult. So at its core, a lot of the things that began with hyper-casual stayed in the hyper-casual space. I think today the games are always evolving with the players. I think the things that have changed is the level of art that the players are demanding a bit more polish. We can sometimes see more than one mechanic in a game or more than one system. This is also something that has been evolving. And, the themes, the camera angles, the trends, they're all changing all the time.
Yeah. I completely agree with Eden in the fact that at its core, hyper-casual has not changed that much. And what has, throughout the years changed, in my opinion, is not the nature of hyper-casual games, but rather the scale of it and the exact shape it takes. We're here now talking about new genres and some genres. It's what has been defining the industry all the time, with new arrivals of new concepts, new types of bringing satisfaction to the user. I think the key to all hyper-casual games is how rewarding and satisfying they are. And I think this is indeed one of the core elements of its definition.
I think a big thing in modern hyper-casual, which might not be the same as it used to be as well, is letting players do things that they might not be able to do in their actual life, but have always been interested in, like we see it in simulation games, right? With like the likes of nail polish and hair cutting and all these things that everyone understands, and everyone's been to the hairdresser, and everyone's been to the doctor and whatever, and they get to then simulate being on the other side, the other perspective, and I think that's something unique to hyper casual, which is really cool.
Okay, thank you guys. The next question is, how could you describe a hyper-casual gamer according to your expertise and experience, like typical portrait?
Well, there's this kind of rough saying that says that hyper-casual is games for non-gamers. I think it's a little simplified to say it that way, but in my opinion, it's people who are looking for a snackable game sessions and want to pass time in a satisfying way. And I completely agree with Chris on the fact that one of the key points of what we're seeing right now in hyper-casual today is the fact that people like also doing things that they can do in their day-to-day life. And I think it's also right for games like Investment Run or Run Rich, also the satisfaction of success and stuff like that. So definitely, I think if I had to use like a little dreamer sentence, is the fact that in my opinion, hyper-casual gamers are looking for short dreams in the state of gaming sessions, and what they want is discovering new environments, living different lives, experiencing different stuff, and always in a fun and satisfying and simple way.
I really think that it's hyper-casual gamer is anyone, right? Like I think literally anyone. I think there would be a hyper-casual game for everyone, like that they could find fun in. Like even an elderly man who's a lawyer. Like I think there is something out there that you could find for him that he could play it as a hyper-casual game and enjoy it. So I really like just considering literally everyone on the planet as the potential audience for these games.
Yeah, I totally agree with Chris and JB. I think especially in the COVID era that we're all experiencing all around the world, JB and Chris was talking about the play the fantasy kind of games. Everyone is stuck at home and they want to be something else that they couldn't usually do right now. And again, as a hyper-casual game scene, we can look at it as also as a business model. And as a business model, you want to aim and try to appeal to the biggest mass possible. And that's why, like Chris said, it's literally everyone. I'd argue that the best games of last year were the ones that did hit the mark with all the age groups and all of the genders and everything. Like those are the biggest games. We do see some new, we'll talk about it in the session, I'm sure, but we do see some transition into more action stuff, first person stuff that usually might drag some people away, but the biggest hits of the hyper casual space are the ones that has like the mass appeal.
Okay, thank you. Main genres of hyper casual games. Could you name the main directions?
I'm gonna go. I think it really depends, on the time frame we're talking about. What can be noticed today in the direction hyper-casual as a market is taking is that there's two different main directions, in my opinion. And there's one where games are gaining depth more and more. We're looking at gaming sessions that are getting longer and longer throughout the years, and especially now with the big boom and rise of Arcade Idol, of course. We're seeing long, great LTVs, long gaming sessions, games that are kept in the phone way longer than they used to. And I think the other direction we're seeing is a simplification of what was already considered simple with the birth and rise also of the ultra casual market. And we're seeing more and more games that are not even that much gameplay oriented than just like visually satisfying in terms of a goal. And so we're seeing games that are very simple with only one thing to do, and you just do it over and over, very colorful, very fun. And so there's these two directions going in two opposite ways, and that's why I think the hyper casual market itself is dividing itself into two markets maybe in the future, and one with a lot more depth and one that is way more simple with even better onboarding.
I think if we talk about genres, so I agree with JB that we see a lot of idle and arcade idle, which is like the hottest topic right now. But I also have to say, runners, in my opinion, aren't going away. The simple reason for that is it's just the most easiest to develop. That's why we see a lot of them. A lot of studios are able to create these kind of prototypes, and it's never going away. The users and the players can really understand it clearly from a 3-second ad. They understand the mechanic, and when you combine a good trend or maybe a good idea with the runner mechanics, you got yourself a hit. That's a good recipe. So that's not going away, no matter what we think. Even though the genre is really matured and you think you don't have any more ideas, you saw it last year with the math gates, which was like a big thing. So runners aren't going away, and I agree with JB. Stuff are going more and more into the depth, into the narrative and the story-driven stuff. We tend to think that hyper-casual doesn't have these kind of things, but if you look maybe like 2 years back, where most of the games had an abstract appeal, everyone was like relating to the stickman, the simple stickman. You see more and more these days the hyper-casual space going towards the more narrative-driven thing. You want to play the fantasy of the girl, you want to play the fantasy of the rich guy, and people are not, they're demanding some kind of story to relate to.
I think it's hard to talk about genres of hyper casual without also mentioning puzzle games, right? Like to think that there's never going to be another 2D puzzle game that explodes into the charts is crazy. I think we're just waiting for someone to have an idea and a way to market it in a way that allows it. But puzzle games have like notoriously high playtime, high retention, right? You can hold on to users for a long time. So if you can find a way to also market that, like to find a compelling ad that gets you a low CPI or whatever metrics you're looking for, I don't see why we can't have another 2D puzzle game topping the charts. Like that would be really cool, because I love them. So.
Yeah, and to add on this, of course, like there's the new genres with the trends, and like right now it's the gaining depth with the arcade idol and stuff like this. But it's true that the general truth is that there will always be puzzles and there will always be runners, and I think that's like the core truth. And then you have some genres coming forth, and new ones appearing, and some fading out. But the puzzles and the runners are going to be there, whatever you do.
Yeah. And then you get these like explosive trends within those genres, right? Like you mentioned with the math gates and the female focused runners. Like you get these like little subcategories within genres that just come out of nowhere and dominate the charts for a few months.
They're almost markets by themselves, runners.
Yeah, for sure. It's really, it's exciting to be in it, and just to watch it unfold. It's crazy.
I guess we have answered already next one question, but maybe somebody would like to add. What makes these genres powerful and successful?
I talked about it a little bit regarding the runners. I just want to say one more point about the simulation games, because we haven't talked about that one. I think this is like the exact opposite of runners. The simulation games are the hardest and toughest to develop. They usually require some complex shading and some really good art, really good animation. So you don't see it as much. I mean, there are less studios capable of providing a good simulation game and also dish out a lot of new content in small windows. So that market is usually not so oversaturated, I mean, by prototyping, but to make it something really good is still hard. But that's what makes it also really powerful, in my opinion, that you can stand out kind of easily with the simulation games, and they're usually very marketable. So that's also like one of the things I felt we had to mention. Regarding puzzle games, I agree with Chris. I mean, when you get a good puzzle game and the players, they stick with it, you got them hooked. It's really hard, in my opinion, to innovate in a puzzle game, and it's really hard to market it as well. Usually when you show an ad for a puzzle game, if the puzzle game's mechanics is a bit too much to digest, players can sometimes be frightened from it. So it's really hard to innovate and market, but if you got something big and good, that's the way to go, no doubt.
Yeah, and then just to bounce back also on puzzles, I think that it's really, as you said, difficult to market because puzzles are interesting thanks to their complexity and I mean the growing difficulty in game, but you also have to market it as being simple and easy to understand. And so you have this paradox. You have this paradox, of making it simple but complex, and this is what is really hard to make. Just the right puzzle game with the right new concept and the right twist to it is to try and balance this paradox, which is really tricky.
But it's out there. Like it is out there. We can find it, but just it's a race, right? Like there is something there. There's some gold out there. We're just all fishing for it.
Exactly.
Okay. And do you agree that in first place are runner games, in the second simulation games, and in the third puzzle games? And describe yourself.
I think it's hard to it depends what the context is, right? If we're just talking about chart position, then yeah, at the last half of the last year, that's how it looks. But I don't know. I really think simulation games are going to have it's going to be the year for simulation games. I think we're going to see some really cool stuff coming out now. We're starting to see people mixing narrative and simulation, which I think is a huge, that's powerful combination, right? Like you've got a simulation game where you're simulating whatever job or something, but then you've also got this deep backstory that helps retain people and keep them interested in more. I'm excited to see where simulation goes this year and how if it can take over runners in the charts, which I hope it can. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I want to say that it's difficult to say that we disagree with it because it's a fact, this ranking, as we see it statistically. However, I do feel that something I would love to happen in the hyper-casual markets is genres mixing up more. I think that we're noticing depth more and more in each of these categories are gaining depth. This contextualized narration that is coming up more and more, as we said, with the ragdolls disappearing progressively, and more and more context put into the visuals and the storytelling that you get as a passive storytelling. And I feel like runners could be a core genre that you could mix up with any type of other genre. So
yeah,
that could be something amazing to see, the simulation runners pop up, puzzle runners pop up.
We've seen it before, right? With crafting games where it's half crafting and then half a sunset game where you craft log thrower or whatever. You sharpened the log and then you fired it down the track. Mixing things up like that. It's really cool.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I'll just add, I think like what we said in the last question, it's just a hunch, but I feel like puzzles are actually going down a bit. Maybe for the reason that it's simply really hard to innovate in that space. There have already been such amazing games and amazing puzzle mechanics. There's always something out there, so I'm not discouraging anyone. I'm just feeling that the 1, 2, 3, it's really related to context, but I feel like puzzle games might decrease over time simply because it's really hard to innovate in that space.
Okay, thank you guys. And how do you think what could make games unique and profitable? Forget about genres, name successful cases according to your experience.
One thing. Oh, sorry, you go, JB.
No, go ahead. No worries.
Okay. One thing I've been really interested in recently is looking more into gameplay related reward video opportunities that they're not just doubling your earnings or unlocking something, but they're accessing a unique part of gameplay that isn't necessarily accessible in the main game. It's kind of squirreled away behind an RV. It's something that we did in Traffic Cop 3D which was out, in the charts just before Christmas. We had this really cool pursuit mini game that was behind an RV, and it was really interesting to gather that data and look at that. People enjoy that. People wanted to engage with that RV because the little mini game they got to play was fun. So I think that is something that I'm looking at constantly, and I think we'll see more of in the future.
I completely agree with you, Chris. I think the more you can put monetization into the gameplay, and put it smoothly in it, and not break the gaming session, the better it is. And we're seeing this with decision-based games, simulation games, where you have like one choice who is often a little clickbait or a little more interesting. One choice where it's RV, you got rewarded to unlock it, and you access a different part of what is happening of gameplay or storytelling. And I think that this is the way to go to make profit. And it goes well with the fact that we're noticing more depth in all games, because this depth means more immersion on the part of the player. So longer time session, of course, means bigger LTV and bigger monetary aspects and possibilities, opportunities. And I guess that's completely the direction to go in when developing your game, is to think how you can include this monetization in the smoothest way possible. And if you even are able to gamify your monetization and make the player glad to be watching an ad, this is the best scenario ever.
Make them excited for the next ad opportunity. Like,
exactly.
that one was really cool. I can't wait for the next one in 3 levels or whatever. Like make them excited to watch the RVs by doing them well. It's really good.
I think, like Chris, that we see more and more games using the monetization and the RVs, less for cosmetic rewards and currency rewards, and more into like the core progression of the game, and that really incentivizes the players to keep going forward. Maybe like discover the new thing they haven't done without the ad. Regarding how to make the combination of the unique game and something profitable, I always say to my developers, think about the possibility that you can create some kind of emotion in the players. This is always like a really good go-to, in my opinion. If you can create any kind of emotion within your games, whether it's really funny, maybe it gets you really excited about things, or even sad, that's always like a good thing, because it's easy to market a game like that. I can give an example of our game Makeover Run, where we have the female fantasy. It becomes really deep when you think about it. Like from one hand, it's a simple game, and the second, we have like our how we like perceive accessories like inside the game, and our social status, and what we want to collect, and the fantasy of getting the guy you're crushed on. And so all of these things, they create emotion, and they create a lot of relatedness. So that's something I always like to tell our developers. And the biggest thing, and this is like you can't overlook it, first find the fun and then monetize it. This is the first thing. You can't first monetize stuff and then think about the fun. You have to get at least at the beginning, a good product, a good game that players will enjoy. And if you got that nailed down, the monetization can come afterwards. And I know it's the process of most of the publishers, but sometimes the developers don't really understand it. Don't think about the monetization yet. First think about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's an order to things, and since monetization and rewarded opportunities are here to boost gameplay, improve your gameplay or your mechanic. Like a masterclass for this, in my opinion, is what we see in arcade idle games, where you see more and more rewarded opportunities that will boost your collecting speed for a limited time, or your running speed also to get from one place to another. And these kind of superpower boosts that are rewarded opportunities are the greatest way, in my opinion, to implement monetization into gameplay, so that monetization will service the gaming experience, will actually improve it.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, guys. And next question is, where could we get more ideas and inspiration for developing new game items and new games?
The thing I look at the most. Oh, sorry. Go on. You go.
Okay. I think obviously we have the social platforms. That's always like a big place to get ideas. But I didn't want to say like the obvious answer. I want to say that a new place that I find that is really interesting in the current time is to actually look at the PC and console indie space. Gamers as gamers, they're always up to date with all the games, and even the hyper casual gamer, which has evolved over time, and they are familiar with the hot games even in the indie space. And we see a lot of PC players actually getting a bit dismissed by the AAA content because they want the uniqueness and like the cool mechanics of an indie game. And we've seen it recently go into have some kind of fusion with the hyper casual games. We have great indie games that if we simplify them enough, we can actually convert them into a mobile experience. And it's a really cool space to, I tell my developers, it's a really cool space to watch an eye out, go into forums, Reddits about like indie dev. There's really amazing ideas over there, and that could be a really cool way to find new mechanics and new ideas.
What was I going to say? I was going to say,
Sorry.
looking at, I look at real life the most. I think I look at what I see around me, and try and find what people enjoy in real life and how would that translate to a game. And like, I guess this is more akin to simulation stuff, but this fits into runners as well. Like, swinging from ropes and playing on playgrounds and climbing up stuff like we saw in like Monster Evolution, like the climbing walls and things that people enjoy in real life. Why wouldn't they enjoy it in a hyper casual game? So that's the first place I go for inspiration at the moment. It's just thinking about things that I find cool. Like if I see something like, I don't know, like the way a Hoover sucks things off the floor, like that's kind of like it's got a cool physicality to it, right? And then you can from that simple thing you can build a whole game idea from it. So I just try and be really mindful of like little things that I do and what if I do something I'm like, oh, that was quite satisfying, I'll think about it and write it down.
Yeah, and I definitely think that there's no wrong answer to this question, because it really depends on your ideation process and where you start. I mean, if you start with gameplay, then you can go get your ideas from, as Eden was saying, from inspirations from indie games who are always innovative. So that's great content to inspire yourself from. And if you start with finding a theme, then you look around. It's all around you on social platforms and in real life. You actually look around, see what is satisfying, what brings pleasure. We were talking about fantasies. What do people look up to? What's the end goal of most people? Where do they want to imagine themselves? What are the dreams they have? So I think really it's all about saying, okay, so my ideation process is like this. The first thing I need to find is the theme. If I work this way, then the theme, I'll find it around. And especially with trendy subjects, that's the key point here. I mean, you got to look at what is the buzz effect that you're noticing right now, like in its week by week, day by day. It's really fast moving, fast paced. And as long as you keep you keep an ear out and you keep an eye out, and I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. And what is next for hyper-casual games? Maybe you could name main future insight and trends of this year.
Go ahead.
I'll start by saying that I feel like we've been talking on it the whole panel, but I think the line between all the genres and the gaming space in general is really getting blurred. It's blurring away. We see a lot of like things that were considered hardcore and midcore only, never coming into the hyper casual games, but now we see them all over the place. We see it with more action games, shooting games, things we didn't even imagine that we could put inside the hyper casual space. And I think it's just like it's the natural maturity of the genre. I mean, the players demand a bit more, because if we take a look like 2 years back, so let's say we take a normal player, he played the first hyper casual game, then the second, then the third. Now he's played the 15th hyper casual game, and it's not the same player which used to play the first one. So the players have matured with the genre itself, and they demand more. Maybe it's new mechanics and new stuff, or maybe it's even a bit more depth, like JB has said. And I think the genres are mixing up and they're blurring away. I'm gonna say some wild stuff, but I'm even predicting maybe true multiplayer games. That's something that I
True
imagine.
co-op, maybe.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
true cooperative hyper-casual games would be cool.
I think the casual games space haven't been explored enough. I mean, we didn't reach its full potential. Even like core casual mechanics like match 3 and like true PvP, like I said, they can go inside the hyper casual space. We've seen some examples of it, like match hit and stuff like that, but it hasn't been explored enough, in my opinion. And we can take inspiration from the other genres and the other categories of games, and we can mix it inside our hyper casual games. And because we can expect the players expect more, and we can give them credit to understand it better and enjoy even mechanics that we didn't think could have room in our realm.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Eden has said. Honestly, the blurred lines between genres is really something that is definitely going to happen, in my opinion. There's also an interesting factor that's happening really fast right now and more. It's the fact that gaming itself is gaining more utility now. We're seeing this with the rise of play to earn. And thanks to all the NFT technology, we're seeing games actually right now that are not only games anymore. We're seeing rewards for players that are coming up that are real life rewards. People are working all over the world on new types of prototypes for games that will have this utility and be play to earn system. And this is something that is brand new. And I think it could revolutionize the whole market in itself if you're not just playing, but you're actually having, it's not just a distraction, it's actually having a use and an impact on your life behind it. And I think that this type of gaming is actually how I fantasize about a long-term future. I think games will not just be games anymore at all.
Completely agree with you. And Chris?
I'm interested to see, this is less broad, but I'm interested to see the impact that Wordle has had over the last couple of weeks on hypercasual. I'm excited to see what sort of innovations on that thing, like the daily challenge-esque like nature of it, or the specificness of the way the puzzle is formulated. I think it being so huge and being bought by New York Times and all this stuff is going to lead to something really cool in the next couple of months. Like first quarter of this year or so, we're going to see something really cool that is that's taken that idea and run with it. And that's a bit more of a specific answer, but I think it's still something that I'm excited for.
Yeah, there's going to be many twists, and I'm eager to see
for sure.
I'm eager to see it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and I guess we have finished with all main questions. And if we don't have any questions from audience, I would like to say thanks to everyone for bringing your expertise and experience around the table and engaging in such fruitful and constructive way. And I hope to see you during next Hyper Games conference and events.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a huge pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you so